My story is one of hope and life. At the age of 20, just a year out of high school, I was working full-time in the field of insurance and had a pretty good career path ahead of me. I was very driven and dedicated to work and advancing. That's when my world changed. I became pregnant at this young age and honestly was scared on where my life would end up. My family and I had been involved with the pro-life movement and actually helped start a crisis pregnancy center a few years prior to me becoming pregnant. Needless to say, I knew what the right decision was for me and my child, but it was still not an easy one. My employer at the time and some other adults that I looked up to in my inner circle kept pushing me to have an abortion, stating that I was too young and this would be ruining my life. This went on for almost 3 months throughout my pregnancy. Relentless pressure that life was not the right choice. I just knew that life was the decision that I had to make, no matter how hard it would be or how many people thought it was wrong. God had given me a gift, and I had to honor that regardless of the outcome. Then my pregnancy journey began. I stayed determined and proud of the decision I had made to keep my child and pushed against every obstacle the world had said would happen. There were many lonely times with the loss of many friends, scared times of what my future would be, and happy times of an amazing gift God had given me that was growing inside of me. Thankfully, I had the support of my family, my pastor, and my church through this time in my life. It is so important that a woman has a support system and resources from others around her. On December 31st, 1993, I gave birth to an amazing, beautiful little girl and honestly still felt like a little girl myself. I was unwed and I had an uncertain future. The fear did not reside that day. I think it actually intensified. At that moment, I had this little baby and no handbook or no way on how to raise her. Thankfully, we did have others that surrounded us and made the transition into motherhood at a young age easier. My life was not ruined that day, it had just begun. Those that were determined for me to have an abortion came to visit us in the hospital and were sorry for the pressure they had placed on me, as they knew the moment they saw her that I had made the right decision. I soon married and had 2 more little girls by the time I was 24 years old. I had 3 children under the age of 3. I was pushed several times during each pregnancy by others or even my own thoughts to thinking about an abortion, as it was never easy, never the right time for a child. We were already struggling financially, or my plate was so full with my other children. We lived in government-subsidized apartments our first few years, and we were able to use the insurance resource that the state offered to make ends meet. As I kept putting my children first from the time of conception, God kept blessing me more and more each year. I was able to work 2 jobs and put all of my daughters through private Christian school, and eventually was able to start my own business that allowed for me to provide for them more than I could ever have imagined. As my daughters were entering into high school, I remarried and we decided to try and have a baby. And at that age of 38, I became pregnant with my 4th child. Of course, it all started again. You're too old, the child could have a birth defect, do this test, do that test, do you really want to start all over, your kids are grown. And it's sad to say, even being a Christian and a mother of teenagers, the fear and thoughts crept in again. I can honestly see why so many women feel the pressure to have an abortion. It attacks you at every angle and at every age. I am proud to say that we didn't do any genetic testing and made the decision to accept the child that God gave us regardless of the outcome. In 2011, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. My story of hope is that no matter how difficult the struggle was, no matter how many challenges I faced raising my children, I survived, my life was not ruined, and we made it. And above all, I was able to be an example to my children of a strong and determined woman when the world is against you. I strongly believe that if you honor the life that God has given you from the moment of conception, God will carry you in the good times and bad. I went from living off government assistance at a very young age to being the president of a very successful business with over 50 employees. As I look back on the lonely times and the times of unexpected pregnancy, I know that it was worth all the joy I have today in my children. I am the supporter of Oasis Pregnancy Center because they provide the resources that I could have used during my pregnancy throughout the years. It is a struggle and we need the counseling, the support from our pastors, our churches, and also the staff at Oasis. And I thank them for the work that they provide for women in need.